Ad Infinitum is the only podcast solely focused on audio ads. The creatives who make them, the latest thinking that informs them, how the space is evolving, and my favorite part, a roundup of recent audio ads, an analysis by yours truly, Stew Redwine, VP Creative at Oxford Road, and each episode's guest. This episode's title is Sirius Positioning, and our guest is Lucinda, founder and head hen over at Moink. Welcome to the show, Lucinda.
Thanks for having me, Stu.
Lucinda is an 8th generation farmer and founder of Moink. Like I said, they ship grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and wild-caught Alaskan salmon straight to your door from the heart of rural America. But it is more than that. I've known Lucinda for a number of years. I'm happy to say not only do we work together, but we're also friends. And Lucinda is somebody who's got a really big heart that comes out in her business. That's what we're going to be talking about, because Moink is doing much more than just shipping you the most delicious meat you've ever tasted. They're also fighting for the family farm. And recently, Lucinda, you were on the Eric Metaxas show, and you were saying, we be brawling. That it's farmers that signed the Declaration of Independence. I think that is awesome. And I mean, it really brings us into what we want to talk about, which is that your whole business is about one of the 9 key components of audiolytics, one of the key components of a marketing message, which is positioning.
Audiolytics key component number 3, positioning.
I'm fighting a fight worth fighting for.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I meant what I said in that when we be brawling. 4 companies control over 80% of the meat industry. Less than 2% of Americans are farmers. The average on-farm income is a loss of $1,100. So in terms of positioning, American family farm, our backs against the wall, but we're coming up swinging. And I'm here to lead that charge and put the family farm on the map.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
So the last couple of days we spent together at the first Chief Audio Officers Summit, which is really what this show, that is an expression of what Oxford Road is about, what the Media Roundtable podcast is about, what Ad Infinitum is about, is there are people who are making the decisions when it comes to the dollars that are being deployed in audio. The Chief Audio Officer. This isn't a role that exists yet, but it may one day. I mean, for all intents and purposes, as a founder, especially in the early days, like that is the founder. Yeah. And then at larger companies, it could be any number of different roles, but who is that person that ultimately is making this decision? We had a couple awesome days together, I thought. What was your experience of the CAO Summit?
Well, what I really liked about it is really putting on the map something that is very important, because when you're talking about, for my specific business, audio has been so impactful. But you can have the best message in your mind. You can have the biggest heart. You can be on the right track. You can believe in everything you're doing. But you need sometimes help of putting that together in the right package for audio. And yeah, I do think that, you get the right tools for the right thing.
It's like, what's the most important tool in the toolbox? It's the one you need.
Exactly. And so to dig in on something that's like, no, this is actually a tool you need. And if you're not fixing to do it, you need to get somebody that knows how to do it. You either do it or you get somebody that knows how to do it. It's just not something you want to, you don't want to skirt around it. You don't want to skimp on something that's like, this is impactful. It's your voice, literally and figuratively. You are communicating to the world through their headphones, through their ears. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to kind of clean up your messaging and dust off some of those rough edges. So to get into that conversations about not just like the nuts and bolts of audio ads and audio, like what's happening in the audio world, mm-hmm. but also more having those free thinking conversations about, like, I like to call it the lion and the zebras in the zoo, right? You got the lions over here and the zebras over here, and we don't know, are we mad because we see a lion? Are we mad because we see a zebra? And these become like emotional issues about like what this show or that show, or like, do we agree with values? And so it really kind of dug deep at this summit about, well, let's just talk about it. We're not assigning judgment one way or the other, but let's talk about some of these real issues, because lions, zebras, but nobody seems to be wanting to talk about the elephant in the room, which is what we did at this audio summit. Is kind of just have real conversations, not just about the nuts and bolts and tactics of audio ads, but also these bigger discussions of like, should we be thinking about, does our host align with what we think? How are we deciding who is the moral police? Do we have a dog in that fight? Do we want to put a dog in that fight? Just having conversations around that is always very important. To just put your cards on the table. Let's talk about it for a minute.
And it felt like a safe space to do that. Yeah. Like it was this environment where it was people from all different sizes of companies, but these people that are responsible for these audio dollars. And it's just sort of like, can I just talk about how all of this works? And we got to hear from so many people. So
yeah, I definitely did not pull my knife. I was willing and ready to. I could throw down. But it wasn't like that. It was actually very much like, how can we talk to each other and get in on this of like, how does this affect our business? How does this affect the American people? I mean, you got to step back sometimes and think that like we're very much so in the thick of not just in ads, but we are dealing with ways in which we can have a voice and what voices reach the American people.
And it matters.
It really matters, and it's not something you should take lightly. You need to kind of pause. So to me, the audio summit was more about, let's pause for a moment and let's think about this. And I loved it. I got a lot of action items out of it as well.
That's fantastic. Yes. We need to take a pause moment. Let's think, because it's special, it's rare, and it's precious.
Yeah.
And audio is so intimate, inherently intimate. It is processed in the exact same part of the brain where emotion is processed. When we hear, we feel. It's the fastest of our senses. We respond to it quicker than anything else. It lasts longer.
Yeah.
It is powerful. And to think that we're asking people to give their time, or they're choosing to give their time, right? Podcasts particularly so lean in, but with all audio, really, it's intentional and it's intimate. What I'm hearing from you that I love and I agree with is we need to honor that.
Yes. And here's the other thing, and to use the famous words of Stew Redwine, we're never more here than we are right now. So when we think about that and we're right here, right now, then we can also say that when we are talking to someone and we don't know who they are, but we're speaking to them directly on the other end of our ads, at the other end of podcast shows, they're right here, right now with us, wherever that is. Never more here than we are right now, as you often say to me, right?
That's right.
And so just kind of just thinking about that, just everybody stop and think about that for a hot minute. And take away from the fact of like you're selling this or you're selling that, then that helps you get your clarity in your business of like, why do I do what I do? And there's some people, like for me, it's a personal fight. I know my why. I've been knowing it my whole life. But sometimes there can be businesses that just come up with a great idea and they have to search for their why. And that's okay. But you're going to have to step back and say, tell me your why. And if you don't have one, let's dig into it. Because not only is that important of like in terms of like growing your business, but it's also important in terms of the respect of the other person on the other end of the line. Because they have a why of why they tuned in to listen. So you better meet them right where they're at and give them your why. And that's where we have that intimacy between brands and consumers, is because we can both meet in the middle on a why. Everybody's got a why for what they do in their life. They just maybe aren't conscious of it. So this last few days at the Audio Summit was really digging into like, we're going to be right here, right now. But let's talk about our why, and then also talk about honor the fact that we as audio ads, audio podcast, are meeting a consumer somewhere.
A person.
Yeah. Pause. Just take a hot minute and think about that. You need a smoke break, go take one. You need to like get a cup of coffee, do it. But just stop for a hot minute and be right here, right now. That's what, to me, what I took from it.
That's marvelous. That's all we could ask for. And I think that's a great way to look at it. And I feel like that's what I experienced as well. I was like, wow, yeah. So we all took this time together. And it's serious. It's deadly serious, right? It's our livelihoods. Many of us have been in this for years. We've been in this for years together. But we also have fun.
Yeah.
And audio is also a super fun medium. And so we worked up a Father's Day ad that I think we had a riot making with you, and is ridiculous. And so I want to play that.
Look, I got it on good authority that what Pops really wants for Father's Day is to get moinked. And what you really want is to blow your siblings out of the water. I'm Lucinda, 8th-generation farmer and founder of Moink. Moo plus oink. And I'm going to help you be all up in Dad's grill for Father's Day. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and wild-caught Alaskan salmon straight to your door. Like ribeyes to chicken breast to pork chops and much more from the best farmers on God's green earth. Get to getting while the getting is good. Help save the family farm. Send Dad the highest quality meat he ever did taste. And totally win at the gift-giving game.
Go to moinkbox.com.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with this, don't we, Stu?
We do.
We like to break rules sometimes, but they're not really breaking rules because we get into the audio, like the system, and then we get that creative flair. I think sometimes they call us cowboys. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So now let's listen to some other folks' ads.
Yeah.
and we're going to respond to them primarily about positioning. So Audiolytics, as you know, Lucinda, is composed of 9 key components. That's the framework that we use to construct messages that persuade in audio at Oxford Road. Those 9 key components are setup, value prop, positioning, demonstration, substantiation, offer, scarcity, path, and execution. Today we're talking about positioning. Really, when it comes down to it, what is positioning? It's why is it better? Why is what you're doing better than the status quo or competitors? We want the audience to walk away with a material understanding of what you do, what you offer, and why it's better, how much money or time they're going to save using your product, and what exact measurable ways their life will improve if they exchange their earnings for their product, or perhaps in your case, their impact, right? Like their life is improved because of the impact they're having. And you want to position that against the offerings that are out there from your competitors, or maybe from the status quo, which they're not currently doing anything like that. Daniel Pink covers this in his masterclass, which is awesome, where he talks about different persuasive frames. I can't suggest that enough. But a lot of people, unlike you, Lucinda, a lot of people don't have something that's just like inherently so much different, that's literally coming out as a statement against the way that business is being done in their industry. So I just want to pause on that for a second. You know, it's like, so what if your company's not that different from the competition? Anybody who's watched Mad Men is familiar with like well, you may not be, but on Mad Men, there's this pitch one time with Don Draper where he positions the Lucky Strike cigarettes. I mean, it's in the pilot episode, for crying out loud. And of presenting the concept that Lucky Strike's tobacco is toasted to the client replies, but everybody else's tobacco is toasted. And Don Draper says, no, everybody else's tobacco is poisonous. Lucky Strike's is toasted. And any of the cigarette companies could have made that claim because that's how they all prepared their tobacco.
Yeah.
It was all toasted. Yeah. But they're the only ones that said it. And it's a real world example of that is from one of the advertising pioneers from over 100 years ago, Claude Hopkins. He positioned Schlitz beer by claiming that their bottles were washed with live steam.
Our bottles are washed with live steam.
The thing is, all beer companies were washing their bottles with live steam at that time. All of them were. But Schlitz was the only one talking about it. So when people, unlike you, are having a hard time, like you were talking about, they're having a hard time coming up with a way to differentiate their product or service from the competitors. Sometimes you can just make the preemptive claim. My favorite of all time is Jimmy John's. They have signs in their restaurants when you walk in that says free smells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like any restaurant could have said that ever.
Yeah.
It took us thousands of years
to
get to Jimmy John's to go, oh yeah, smells are free. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no problem. Come on in, guys. Everybody could say that. So from an advertising history standpoint, evolution of like how we've come at, messaging and persuasive messaging, this drive to differentiate, I think can be inherent when it comes to a marketing message, right? I mean, it's like, okay, how am I different? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about positioning. Rosser Reeves like codified that in the 1960s with the unique selling proposition. A lot of us are familiar with the USP. What's your USP? Perfectly illustrated from back in the day, like with M&M's, melts in your mouth, not in your hand, because they had a special way to make their chocolates that it melted in your mouth, not in your hand. So they were positioned because they were different. But then the thinking evolves, and in 2008, a luminary of advertising, Byron Sharp, in his book, How Brands Grow, he talks about how this is all meaningless and that you just need to be distinct. But, the way I look at it, and part of the reason we do this show Ad Infinitum to talk about marketing messages, is that there's lots of intelligent people from Reeves to Sharp. They have their own lens that they're looking through to help different companies grow. And in fact, the world's large enough for all of us to get along. All the lions and the zebras.
Yeah, lions and zebras.
We can all get along.
Yeah.
Those are so distinct.
As long as we talk about the elephant in the room.
I think if I take nothing else away from this conversation, I mean, that you have a way with words. That's definitely going to stick in my head. So positioning in Audiolytics, the way that we defined it is, why is it better? You want to talk about the failings of the current solution to the audience's problem. And that might be, there may be competitors, or it might be that there's nobody competing, but you want to talk about those failures. You want to talk about the benefits, but like, look, what we're talking about is why is Moink better, whoever is advertising, better than what you're currently doing or what you're not doing, but why is this option better? What we have done is we have listened to why it's called Sirius Positioning. Is we've recorded hours and hours of Sirius XM, 9 days straight, 24 hours on the top performing channels. and then identified the advertisers that appeared the most, because it's kind of a black box. It's funny, like audio in general, and part of the reason we're doing Ad Infinitum is that like so much can be found on the internet. You know, with Google, it's like there's this black hole when it comes to audio. It's incredible. I mean, it's beginning to, I feel like we're at the beginning of maybe that starting to get filled, but if it's like you're like just regular old person out there and you go, hey, I want to hear, like, Google like latest Home Depot radio commercial, like, good luck.
Yeah.
Sirius XM, forget it. So we do the best that we can to do some serious listening and record these ads. That's what we did for this, and we picked out the 4 that had the most frequency over a 9-day period within 1 week this May that we listened to with Project Sirius Listening.
Very serious.
1 week that we listened to the top advertisers. These are folks that are easily spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, possibly more. These top spenders were Ethos, Upside, Sofi, and Progressive. And so what we want to do is listen to their ads and see how they handled their positioning. You ready to give it a shot?
Yes, let's do this.
All right.
We get to be judgy.
First ad we're going to listen to is from Ethos.
Let's face it, talking about life insurance is never easy. But after we watched a close friend lose her husband with no insurance, we decided that wasn't going to happen to our family.
Yeah, but shopping for life insurance can be almost as difficult as talking about it.
But then we heard about Ethos Life Insurance. They're a new kind of life insurance, built for people on a busy schedule who don't have time for unnecessary doctor's visits, fine print, or hidden fees. You know, who want to keep it simple.
I couldn't believe how easy it was. We answered a few basic questions, and within minutes, we had an estimate of what it would cost and what sort of policy made sense for us.
I never imagined a life insurance could be so affordable.
And accessible.
The peace of mind knowing that our future is secure, it just removes a lot of the fear around getting older and...
Yeah, the unexpected.
I'm glad we talked about it.
I'm glad we went with ethoslife.com.
Go to ethoslife.com now for your free estimate. That's ethoslife.com. ethoslife.com.
So, Lucinda, what do you think, primarily from a positioning standpoint?
Yeah, that was good. I've actually went through Ethos before on some things. I have a funny story there, but nonetheless, the ethos on the positioning that I took away from this is it's a new kind. They even say it. It's a new kind of life insurance. Why is it new? Because it doesn't take any of your time. So the positioning there was, we're better because it's easier. Everything else is hard.
This is positioning straight up. We're better than the status quo.
Yeah.
They are absolutely coming
Straight
out saying...
up, aggressive.
Okay, so now as far as the ad goes, like if you're just grading it on a scale of, like whatever the Lucinda scale of ad creative is, from zebra to lion or whatever it is, how do you grade this? Because we're going to grade 4 of them, so we want to benchmark them against each other.
I mean, I feel like what is our objective there? So with the ad, did you want to have strong positioning? It was there. You want to make it memorable? I mean, I felt sad in there, which maybe is what they're going for, you know, like he might die. But I personally would have had a lot more fun with that. Yes, it's death. Like, let's just be real. Hey, I don't know if you knew this or not, everybody, but you should live like tomorrow you're dying, because eventually you will be correct. It's statistics. So let's get this on lockdown, and it doesn't have to be hard. Go to ethos.com right now and put in the code live like you were dying. Tomorrow never comes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would have been a little bit more strong about it, but I believe in being more hey, let's help people remember it.
It sounded a little maybe saccharine and too...
Meh.
Yeah, and you're like, hey, let's lean into the
Dead part.
Yeah.
Let's make dead less sad. Like, it was, might as well have played funeral home music in the background.
So from an audiolytics standpoint, which primarily we're looking at the structure and going, do we have the substance right? Then we figure out the style piece of it. But like from a structural standpoint, and as far as like from a positioning standpoint, which gives you good points from an audiolytics standpoint, that one came in at a 77.2%. So we've got 71 different subcomponents that are all weighted, and they're binary, either present or not present. And based on that, it came in at about a 77.2. Our target's 90. And what that means when I look at that is I just go, okay, well, there's 9 key components roughly because our target score is actually a 90%. This thing's doing about 7, almost 8 out of 10. It's hitting on all cylinders. There's a few things it could do to sharpen. And I think that to your point about the tone of the spot, I think that also kind of relates to the it's not as sharp and as focused as it could be. It's not as punchy as it could be. Where it's not that it has to go all the way to where you were going.
But really, it's really kind of driving in the point of why you have a job and why we need you, right? Because those hit the components. You're telling me it's a 72%, right? Like
77%.
77. So you're saying, hey, look, somebody could have written that. They got real close. Why do they need someone else? And this is not me giving like an ad for Stew, but what I'm saying is that's why you need a creative person to come in to say, yeah, you hit all the tactics, but let me like put some brush strokes in here of like, let me just give you a little extra oomph.
Yes.
To what you already got. Let's put a little icing on your cake, baby.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Heck yes.
So that had the cake, but I like the icing. But I mean, I want my cake. I want to eat it too, and I want to eat yours.
Okay.
So like, I want all the things in an ad.
Okay.
I want them all.
Let's listen to the next one. All right. So the next one that we are going to listen to is Upside.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code FOOT for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code FOOT. Use code FOOT for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Oh.
Did you catch that last part?
No.
Oh. Okay, let's listen to it again.
Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Okay.
All right. So positioning, first, like from a positioning standpoint, how's it rank? And then, in general, we can chat about
The
it.
positioning from that was saying, if we go back to the question of what's in it for me as a consumer, what's in it for me is to save money on gas.
Straight up.
Straight up. Very simple.
So I'm positioned against higher price gas.
Yes.
Save time, save money.
Yeah.
All right. So then from the way the ad was put together then, just judging this ad, and maybe we can just start with these two. Is this one better? You'd rank this one higher or lower than Ethos?
I would rank it lower than the first one because
Really?
I really would, because the first one with that real specific in the problem of you don't have time. It told you. Whereas in this one, it says someone ought to do that. Instead of saying we did something about that. And it came in afterwards for that. But it came like that intro of like someone should. As a little whiny for my taste. Whereas I'm a strong, heavy hitter. So I actually liked in the first one with Ethos where they're saying, look, you don't have time. I mean, they were just more strong on their positioning there where you're not sitting there. Like, this is a strong position.
I think that's good.
But I don't feel the strength in it, right? Like this, they had it all throughout their ad. They had that positioning about the pricing and you're saving money. But still, there wasn't clarity in the words to be real strong where it's like straight up, you would like to save money on your gas. And if you don't know that you want to, I'm here to tell you definitely want to, because over the course of your lifetime, that's going to add up. And you know what? Baby needs new shoes. Get this freaking app.
I like that. Status quo competitors, right? And then where we can use specifics. As we're doing more of these shows, I'm trying to do this balancing act of how deep do we get into those 71 subcomponents and how much are we just talking about the ads. But each of the key components has layers to it, as you know.
Yeah.
And so a critical part of positioning as far as from through the audiolytics lens is, why is it better than the status quo or competitors? Okay.
Yeah.
Why is it better?
Yeah.
Short. Why is it better? Okay, great. Now specifics help. So like what you just said, that's a great positioning. And it really was interesting to me, even just sitting here going like, wow, how much gas would I save over a lifetime? I bet it's a big number. All right, so that's the first two. Ethos at 77% and then Upside at 72%, just a little bit lower. I mean, it's kind of the same thing you were saying before. It's hitting a lot of the key components. There's some tinkering that can be done. Anytime I'm seeing a score in Audiolytics that's like 70 plus, and then closer to 75-ish, it's like, okay, yeah, that's like, I mean, it's almost like the grades in school. It's like, oh, okay, that's average. Like, that's, okay, now how can we pump that up?
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Yeah, you got some
And
good
sharpen.
bones.
You got good, thank you.
You got good
That's
bones there, and you can really just have somebody come in and help you clean it up and dress it up and just, put a little more icing on that cake.
There we go. We're sticking with the cake metaphor. All right, here's the next one for Sofi.
One day, Amanda realized she was in a few bad relationships, so she decided to do something about it. she got a Sofi personal loan.
Yeah, that's me.
And had it do all of Amanda's breakups for her. She broke up with her outdated kitchen.
This silverware drawer? Come on. See this? Deal breaker.
She ditched her free DJ at her wedding reception.
Okay, no, you might be the best man, but you're definitely the worst DJ.
Amanda even broke up with her high-interest credit card debt.
You're overbearing, you're a taker, and hey, nobody likes you.
If you've got some breaking up to do, like Amanda, let a low fixed rate Sofi personal loan up to $100,000 do the breaking up for you. View your rate without affecting your credit score at sofi.com/PL. That's SOFI.com/PL.
And let me, your Sofi personal loan, take it from here.
Loans originated by Sofi Bank, N.A., member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. NMLS 696891.
I'm going to go for the positioning was low rate, but it was hard to pull the positioning out of that.
What made it hard?
I just was trying to understand where we were going with the story, and I was a little confused in terms of the imagery, that envisioning listening to that as driving down the road or something. And so I am listening to the story, but I don't know the emotion that it's provoking or what. I'm not following the story. So then when I finally get that it's a loan, right, then I have to catch up mentally that, oh, okay, that's what we're talking about. And then I don't really hear why it's better other than like, it's a low rate. I think they were trying to make the point of like, you got a guy for that. Here's his personal loan. But the only thing I pulled out of that was we're better because we had one low rate.
And you bring up a great point in that there's the explicit and the implicit. So you can say, I have a low fixed rate.
Yeah.
Okay. So what? Does the other guy too? Does the other person too?
Yeah.
I have a lower rate.
Yes.
I have the lowest rate.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I get it. Like there's a resistance or a hesitancy that I completely understand of grandstanding or using hyperbolic language. And then there's also like reality and the truth and honoring a person's time of going like, it's economical for me to figure out where I am the first or the biggest or the best or what have you, to position myself to go, they are all like this, but I am different because of this specific thing. Very specific thing, so you know in your head. And what you were saying, what I'm hearing on this one, and then we'll just go right into the next one, is that like, look, it came in at a 62%, well, 62.8, so we'll call it a 63% in Audiolytics. And you can, as we're talking through this, I think it's like you can see why.
Yeah.
It's funny these are going down, but it's like, it's trading on clarity for that story it was telling.
And really, again, I'm going to go back to like, this is why you have to like get the right team. I mean, we've talked about this for a few days of like, what are you trying to communicate and how do we effectively communicate? When you dig into these 9 components of an ad, there's tactics, but there's also artistic flair. But artistic flair is also about giving clarity, and like, that's respectful to a consumer. In fact, I always like to say, I'm not passive aggressive, I'm just aggressive. And that's actually not rude. People, take it from human relationships, but then also to advertising and say, you may not like me, but you will learn to respect me when you know where you stand, right? So on the other side of that, the consumer has a right to know of like, hey, this is why we're better. This is what we do. Tell me what's happening here. Just break it down stupid people level for me. And then just explain why you're better or why I should do it. Just tell me why I need to go get this personal loan and give me clarity when you do it. Communicate effectively with me. It's respectful of my time as a consumer. So mean what you say and say what you mean, but don't say it mean.
What you said. All right. And this is the last one we're going to listen to. Let's see how it stacks up against the rest.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Ad paid for by the tax resolvers.
Whoa, there's a lot. There's a lot going on in that. So I'm gonna say that the positioning was good. It was actually strong. So right. I'm gonna rate a strong positioning in there, right? 6 minutes or less, get your quote, right? You're strong because it's like it's easy to get it. But I'm so overwhelmed by the rest of what's happening in that ad that I need a nap after listening to it. So again, going back to as far as that particular component of positioning, I'm going to rate it real strong. But the ad overall, I'm going to say like I'm overwhelmed by that. I need a nap.
Yes, that was a lot coming at us fast. And it came in just barely under Sofi at 62%. It was missing some stuff as well. It's kind of funny. We like went down on our scale here. They sort of were, it just happened this way that we have listened to what's interesting is we have listened to these in the order of the ones that had the most spots running. And so it goes Ethos, Upside, Sofi, Progressive, and both you and Audiolytics, not only as their spot load goes down over this period of time that we listen to, their grade goes down.
Yeah.
So the guys with the lowest score had the lowest frequency. The one with the highest score had the highest frequency. So good for them.
Yeah.
That's just fun little correlation there that we listened to them in the order of best to the one that needs the most improvement.
Again, like I think the funeral home one, we'll call it the funeral home one, but the life insurance. And then the gas app, and then the other two, I'm like, I don't even know. We're getting insurance.
Now
we're doing
like,
this. I'm like overwhelmed. I don't remember you. I need a nap. I need to get away from this. And it's not that like you're so obnoxious. I remember you, right? It's not like My Pillow where you're like, I can't stand you, but my goodness, I'll never forget you. You know, good. You know, like we. Provoked.
Excellent.
There's no evoking strong emotion. It's just like I'm mid-level annoyed like a bee in my ear that I want to flick.
You articulated that so well because it's like that My Pillow thing. I just at the CAO summit, I was talking to somebody else about My Pillow. Of course, it comes up because we're all like transfixed.
Yeah.
We can't look away.
Yeah.
And it's like so many times you hear the story where they're like, "I can't stand it," or "That's too pushy," or "This is," and then I go, "Have you bought the pillow?" Yeah. And they go, "Yeah, I have two."
Yeah. Oh, I get that. So when we get some of our ads, we always know when we go on Sirius, or then we will start getting emails and responses, and people will give us very strong opinions. And I'm always like, yes, because that's how you know they're working. You evoke a response. And especially, I have learned in my life, and it comes across through my ads, it comes across in my company, I evoke strong emotions. Just my mere existence sometimes, right? But you got to know that those are the opposite sides of the coin, so that's good. Right? Like the opposite of love is actually apathy, not hate, because love and hate are both an emotion, right? So when you're talking about these ads of like, when I go, oh, it's annoying, I'm not going, oh my goodness, that's great. It's so freaking annoying. Because even My Pillow, if it's evoking a strong emotion from you, it's doing its job.
For sure. And there's a whole System 1 has put together this framework of like, hey, let's look at what's an ad supposed to be doing, or what are we achieving? And they have the 3 Fs, right? So there's all these different lenses: fame, fluency, and feeling. And it's interesting to me, and these are based on psychological principles. Fame is the availability heuristic. Fluency is the processing fluency heuristic. Feeling is the affect heuristic. And what that means is fame is how easily something comes to mind. How easily does that brand come to mind? Fluency is how well do you understand it, right? So like how readily would Moink come to mind? But then if somebody saw something about Moink or heard something about Moink, how fluent is that to them, right? How quickly understood is it? But the feeling piece is the one I've parked on recently. And it's related to exactly what you're saying. Because in general, the way I hear feeling and the affect heuristic talked about is that a brand's job is to make a person feel good. I've arrived at it's to make them feel.
We're never more here than we are right now. And how do you know if you're here right now? You have senses. You feel. You see. You feel. You can be right here right now, and what puts you right here, emotion can put you there. And I'm going to bring it full circle here, because we started in the beginning of this particular podcast talking about how, I think it's even in your intro, audio is so special because it's processed in that same part of your brain where you have these emotions. And so if you are in audio and you're not aware of the emotions, you already got a front row seat right there. So you're already up on that starting block. Let's make sure that we bring it all the way home when we talk about that emotion. But I'm with you, Stu. I don't think it needs to be this I feel good. I feel. I'm here.
And that pulls you into the present. And that's where we want to be, because we'll never be more here than we are. And I'm so grateful that you're here with me today. And for our chief audio officers, I think the thing to learn from these ads is 3 different things. One is when it comes to your positioning, straight up your positioning from like, why am I better than the status quo or competitors? Have a good reason. I think the other piece of it is what was what came out from analyzing these 4 ads is that you can actually make people not necessarily feel something that then causes them to remember or recall. You can just annoy them. So just be honest with yourself about that. And then I would say the last thing from a positioning standpoint that I'm thinking about is like what you just said is beautiful. We got a front row seat to the emotions here with audio. So position yourself emotionally against your competitors.
Yes. And if you don't know, that shouldn't stop you, because what it does is give you clarity. You now know, ask for help. So then in your marketing meetings and when you're coming together with the other people, you can say, I specifically need help looking at what our positioning statement is. So there you have it.
Thank you, Lucinda. So grateful for you. Thank you for joining Ad Infinitum, where we discuss audio advertising and break down the ads. And this week we were focused on Audiolytics key component number 3, positioning. This was Sirius Positioning. Props to us and everyone helping make the ads work in audio, right?
Yes, definitely.
All right. And if you've got aspects of audio advertising you'd like us to discuss or suggestions for a guest on the show or want to be a guest, please email, let me be clear, creative@Oxford Road. That's CREATIVE at OXFORDROAD.com. And until our next show, remember to have fun making the ads work.
Get her done.